Hello, I'm Asalia Maldonado. I'm in Linguistics 15, and I'm going to be talking about code switching in linguistics. What exactly is code switching in linguistics? In linguistics, code switching occurs when a speaker alternates between two or more languages or language varieties in the context of a single conversation. Multilingual speakers of more than one language sometimes use elements of multiple languages when conversating with each other. Example: as a Mexican American that is bilingual, or any other Mexican American, or even a Hispanic that is bilingual, we always code switch by using Spanish and English. For example, I have English speaking friends, Spanish speaking friends, and bilingual speaking friends. So when I meet someone new speaking Spanish, and I know that person speaks English as well, I will code switch by going back and forth using Spanish and English. What I also do, depending the conversation, is use Spanglish with that person. Let's talk about Spanglish. Spanglish is a form of speech that results from an interaction between Spanish and English used by people who speak both languages or parts of both languages. Spanglish is not usually considered a language itself, but rather an overlapping mixing of Spanish and English lexical items and grammar. How I code switch using Spanglish. When I code switch using Spanglish would be when I'm at home or with my friends that use Spanglish. I come from a home where both of my parents are only Spanish speakers, and my siblings are bilingual like me. So when I want to talk to my siblings, we speak in English most of the time, and when I speak to my parents, I use Spanglish. For example, when I have to translate for my parents for either a person or a letter, I will translate in Spanglish most of the time, unless I'm able to translate all the message in Spanish. If I'm not able to, that's when I will throw some English in between to get the message through, and that's when I would be using Spanglish. Code switching examples of Spanglish in sentences. First example would be when you insert a noun in a sentence. The following sentence shows this type of example. Example: entonces mi lady me encontró y empezó a llorar, which means then my lady found me and started to cry. In this example, the speaker uses Spanish as the main language in the sentence, but then changes to English to say the noun. This is one of the basic forms of Spanglish code switching. Second example is represented when you code switch at the end of a sentence. This type is very common within the people that learn how to speak two languages in different places or in different times of their lives. For example, a person that learned Spanish in Mexico and learned English in California tends to use this type of code switching in their language. The following sentence is an example. Example: the speaker says, "No, she is for sure. La conozco desde que tenía 13 años en El Salvador," which means, no, she is for sure. I know her since she was 13 years old from El Salvador. In this example, the first sentence is completely in English, while the second sentence is in Spanish. Third example represents the type of code switching that appears inside a sentence. This type is the most complex than any other type of code switching. These changes indicate that the person is completely bilingual and knows very well the grammar of each language. Example: it's 7:46 en la mañana, which means it's 7:46 in the morning. In this example, there is a change inside the sentence, like so, but it doesn't necessarily have to be at the end of the sentence. It can also be at the beginning as well. It just depends on the person. Summary. In this presentation, I talked about what's code switching and how it's used. I also talked about how I use code switching by using Spanglish. I gave some examples of how I and other people code switch when using Spanglish. First example is when a speaker inserts a noun in the sentence. Second example is when the first sentence is in English and the second sentence is in Spanish. Third and last example is when code switching appears inside the sentence, but it doesn't necessarily have to be at the end of the sentence. It can also be at the beginning of the sentence. It just depends on the person. Well, this is the end of my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching.